Rich woman refused to sit beside a black man on a plane. Instantly regrets it. Part 1. The airport was alive, a mosaic of motion and sound. But amid the noise stood Evelyn Carter, elegant, poised, and perfectly composed. Her diamond earrings caught the morning light. Her designer handbag swung gently from her wrist. She carried herself with the air of someone who had never been told no. "First-class ticket, please," she said, her tone soft but commanding. The attendant smiled, scanning her pass. "Welcome aboard, Mrs. Carter. Gate 17, priority boarding." Evelyn nodded, not out of gratitude, but expectation. She was used to this. Life in her world was velvet and champagne. Inside the gate, first-class passengers lined up. Evelyn checked her reflection in her phone camera, perfect as always, before stepping onto the jet bridge. The plane smelled faintly of new leather and coffee. The lights glowed golden against the soft hum of the engines. Seat 2A, window seat, her favorite. She reached her row but froze. A man was already seated beside her in 2B, tall, broad-shouldered, dark-skinned, wearing a plain gray suit and a quiet expression. He looked up and offered a gentle smile. "Good morning," he said. Evelyn blinked, taken off guard. "Oh, good morning." Her tone faltered. She glanced around, then back at her ticket, then at him again. He returned to his book. Something thick, its pages well-worn. His calmness somehow irritated her more than if he'd said anything else. Evelyn turned to the flight attendant passing by. "Excuse me, dear. I believe there's been a mistake." The attendant leaned in politely. "What seems to be the issue, ma'am?" Evelyn lowered her voice. "I specifically booked this seat expecting a bit of privacy. Is there perhaps another available?" The attendant checked her tablet. "I'm sorry, ma'am. The flight's completely full today." Evelyn frowned. Surely there must be some arrangement. Before she could finish, the man beside her spoke. Still calm, still composed. "It's all right," he said softly. "If it makes her more comfortable, I can ask to move." The attendant looked apologetic. "Sir, we're full. There really isn't another seat." The man nodded. "Then it's fine." He turned a page in his book, unbothered. Evelyn felt a flush of embarrassment. Not for what she'd done, but for being told no. She sat stiffly, clutching her purse on her lap, facing the window as though the man beside her wasn't even there. As the plane began to taxi, Evelyn pulled out her silk scarf and draped it around her neck like armor. The man, Marcus, closed his book and fastened his seatbelt. Evelyn noticed his hands, strong, steady, marked with faint scars that told a story of work, of life. He turned slightly. "Do you travel often?" She hesitated. "Yes, quite often. For business and leisure." He smiled faintly. "That must be nice." Something in his tone, humble, sincere, made her uncomfortable. She nodded curtly and turned away. The engines roared, and the plane lifted into the clouds. Outside, the world disappeared beneath a sea of white. Evelyn ordered champagne. Marcus asked for water. She sipped slowly, eyes half-lidded, glancing at him only when she thought he wasn't looking. He sat quietly, occasionally jotting notes in a small journal. She couldn't help but wonder, who is this man? He didn't look rich. His suit was clean but modest. No designer labels, no gold watch, just composure, dignity. An hour into the flight, the comm broke. The seatbelt sign blinked on. The captain's voice crackled over the speaker. "Ladies and gentlemen, please fasten your seatbelts. We're expecting some turbulence." The plane jolted once, twice, then began to shake violently. Gasps filled the cabin. A drink cart tipped over, spilling coffee onto the aisle. Evelyn gripped her armrest, her heart pounding. Her champagne glass rattled against the tray. She shut her eyes. "Oh my God!" Marcus turned to her, voice steady even as the cabin trembled. "Hey, you're okay. Just breathe." I don't like flying," she stammered. He smiled gently. "Neither do most people. Just focus on my voice, all right? Inhale, exhale." She did, reluctantly at first, then genuinely. His calm tone cut through the noise. The turbulence eased. The cabin exhaled. Evelyn unclenched her fists. For a moment, she met his eyes and saw something she hadn't noticed before. Kindness, patience, strength. When the flight attendants returned, Evelyn whispered, "Thank you." Marcus nodded once, returning to his book. The silence between them felt different now. Less cold, more human. But peace doesn't last long at 30,000 feet. Moments later, a commotion erupted near the back of first class. A man, middle-aged, overweight, slumped sideways, gasping for air. "Help! He's not breathing!" someone shouted. Panic rippled through the cabin. The flight attendants rushed forward, but their hands trembled. One of them called out, "Is anyone here a doctor? Please." Evelyn froze, heart racing, eyes darting between the crowd and Marcus. He stood slowly, unbuckling his seatbelt. His voice rang clear and firm. "I'm a doctor." He knelt beside the fallen man, taking charge with quiet authority. "Sir, can you hear me? Pulse." He checked the airway, directed the attendants calmly. "Get me the oxygen mask. Call ahead for paramedics. Now." Every passenger watched in silent awe as he worked. Composed, professional, unshaken. Minutes felt like hours. Then, finally, a faint gasp from the man on the floor. The passengers cheered softly in relief. Marcus sat back, sweat beading his forehead, but his face serene. Evelyn's eyes filled with tears she didn't understand. Shame, gratitude, disbelief, all tangled together. She wanted to say something, anything, but all she managed was a whisper. "You saved him." Marcus looked up at her. "It's my job, ma'am. I'm just glad he's okay." The captain's voice returned. "Ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause for Dr. Marcus Hill, a true hero among us today." The cabin erupted in applause. Evelyn clapped too, slowly, silently, her heart sinking with every beat. Dr. Marcus Hill, the man she couldn't stand to sit beside, had just saved a life right before her eyes. When the plane landed, reporters were already waiting on the tarmac. News of the mid-air emergency had spread. Passengers thanked Marcus, shaking his hand, taking photos. Evelyn stood a few feet away, her world spinning. She wanted to apologize, to confess her shame, to tell him she was wrong. But when she turned, Marcus was already walking down the terminal. No entourage, no fanfare, just quiet grace. She called out faintly, "Dr. Hill!" He paused, turned back slightly. Their eyes met one last time, and then he smiled, that same calm, gentle smile, before disappearing into the crowd. Evelyn stood alone in the airport. The sound of luggage wheels echoed around her. Her reflection stared back from the glass. Perfect makeup, flawless pearls, but something inside her had cracked. For the first time in her life, Evelyn Carter didn't feel superior. She felt small, small and human. She whispered to herself, trembling, who really was that man? But before she could move, a hand tapped her shoulder. Firm, urgent. "Ma'am," a voice said, "there's something you need to see." She turned, eyes wide, and what she saw next made her knees weaken. The truth about Marcus Hill, and a past she never knew she was part of. TOB continued. You've just watched a real story from True Crime Case File. Subscribe now, and don't miss T. He next truth waiting to be uncovered.